The Chicago Bears were supposed to be waiting, rebuilding, watching the playoffs from home like they have for years. Instead, they're 8-3, fresh off a 31-28 thriller over the Pittsburgh Steelers, and playing with a kind of nerve that makes you wonder if they've been hiding something this whole time. Nobody expected this kind of run, not after losing their first two games, not with so many starters missing, and certainly not with a rookie quarterback learning on the job. But here they are, turning primetime chaos into victories, and doing it in a way that feels less like luck and more like a warning shot to the entire NFL. What's really shaking people isn't just the wins, it's how they're winning. These aren't blowouts padded against weak teams. These are tight, messy, heart-in-your-throat battles where the Bears give you every reason to count them out, and then rip the game back in the final minutes. One drive they look in control, the next they're handing the other team free chances with penalties and mistakes, yet somehow they keep answering. Whether it's a defensive stand at the goal line, a deep shot to DJ Moore, or a strip sack by Montez Sweat, they find a way. And that's not just resilience, that's identity forming in real time right before our eyes. But none of this works without the one player everyone's watching and judging every single snap. Caleb Williams, the rookie taken #1 overall, is at the center of everything. He's made errors that would rattle most first-year quarterbacks, but instead of shrinking, he's responded with touchdown drives and fearless decisions that have his teammates following him without hesitation. How he's handling the pressure, the mistakes, and the spotlight might be the most important story in Chicago right now, and it's already reshaping what this offense believes it can do. But before we jump into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Bears and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 100 likes on this video. When Caleb Williams fumbled near his own goal line against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the kind of mistake that can haunt a young quarterback for weeks, most expected him to play it safe the rest of the night. Instead, he came back and threw 3 touchdown passes, fired into tight windows, and led drives that felt less like survival and more like statement making. That's the difference with this rookie. He doesn't just recover from disaster, he uses it as fuel. While others his age might avoid risk after a blunder, Williams keeps climbing the pocket, keeps trusting his eyes, and keeps delivering the ball where only his guys can get it. That kind of nerve isn't taught in training camp. It's something you either have or you don't. What's fascinating isn't just his big throws, it's how he's already shaping the entire offense around his rhythm. You see DJ Moore adjusting his routes mid-play because he knows Williams will wait for him. You watch Colston Loveland sit in traffic over the middle with confidence the ball will arrive on time. Even young targets like Rome Odunze and Luther Burden, both rookies themselves, are learning to play faster because Williams gives them the space to grow. He's not perfect, some short throws drift high, some timing routes are just a hair off. But in the moments that matter, he's consistently making the plays that win games, not just extend drives. And perhaps most telling is how he handles the noise. After every series, you see him on the sideline with offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, pointing at the tablet, absorbing feedback without flinching, then walking back out ready to attack again. There's no frustration, no lost focus, just a quiet belief that the next play can be the one that flips everything. That kind of maturity transforms locker rooms. It tells veterans they can follow him, it tells rookies they belong. But leadership alone doesn't move the chains. For Chicago's offense to truly scare defenses, they need more than one star. They need a full cast of playmakers ready to turn Williams' vision into points. And right now, that cast is deeper than anyone expected. The Chicago Bears don't just have one weapon, they've built an offense where every snap could come from a different threat. DJ Moore is the heartbeat, turning routine slants into explosive gains and refusing to stay down after bone-jarring hits. He's not just catching passes, he's sending a message with every yard after contact. Then there's Colston Loveland, the rookie tight end who plays like he's been in the league for years, snatching throws in tight coverage and holding on through punishing finishes. His ability to win in contested windows gives Caleb Williams a safety valve that most young quarterbacks only dream of. But the real surprise has been the depth behind them. Rome Odunze, another rookie, stretches the field with clean releases and sudden acceleration. forcing safeties to respect the deep ball even when the play isn't designed for him. Meanwhile, Luther Burden, also a rookie, operates underneath with sharp cuts and reliable hands, turning third and medium into first downs when the offense needs oxygen. It's not about one superstar. It's about 4 targets who all present unique problems, and none of them need perfect conditions to produce. Defenses can't double more without opening windows for Loveland or Burden, and they can't shadow Odunze deep without leaving the middle vulnerable. And none of this works without just enough from the ground game to keep opponents honest. DeAndre Swift still flashes that burst through narrow lanes even when the blocking isn't perfect, while Kyle Monangai, a rookie running back, showed against Pittsburgh that he can find cutback lanes most backs miss, nearly breaking one for a game-sealing touchdown before slipping at the last second. These aren't gaudy rushing stats, but they're enough to force defenses to respect the run, which keeps play action and screens alive all game. That balance turns a promising offense into a dangerous one, but only if the men up front can hold the line long enough for the magic to happen. And in Chicago, the trenches have been doing exactly that. While the highlights go to quarterbacks and wideouts, the truth about the Chicago Bears' surge starts in the dirt, where 5 men up front have quietly become the backbone of everything. Darnell Wright spent most of the night locked in a heavyweight bout with TJ Watt, one of the most feared pass rushers in football, and outside of one holding penalty, held his own. That kind of resilience on the right edge gives Caleb Williams the luxury to scan the field instead of ducking for cover. On the opposite side, a young left tackle faced Nick Herbig without blinking, and in the middle, the interior trio consistently won the leverage battle, keeping the pocket clean just long enough for big plays to develop. This offensive line isn't flashy. You won't see their names in the box score unless something goes wrong. But that's the point. They're doing the unglamorous work that lets everything else work. When protections hold, Williams can wait for Rome Odunze to clear his route. When the pocket stays intact, Colston Loveland has time to find soft spots over the middle. And when the run game gains even 3 or 4 yards on first down, the whole playbook opens up. That consistency is what allows offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to stay aggressive late in games instead of resorting to safe, predictable calls just to kill clock. But here's what most people miss. This unit is succeeding even as the rest of the roster deals with constant injuries and lineup shuffles. There's no luxury of perfect chemistry or ideal matchups, just grit, communication, and the kind of trust that only forms when you've been in the trenches together. And while the offense gets the glory, it's this foundation that makes the Bears dangerous in tight games. Still, even the best protection means nothing if the defense can't get stops, and that's where Chicago's story gets truly wild. Because the unit that finished the Steelers game didn't just hold on. It was built almost entirely from backups. By halftime against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Chicago Bears defense looked like it had been assembled from a practice squad. With Jaylon Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Noah Sewell, and Terrell Smith all out, coordinator Dennis Allen had no choice but to turn to names most fans hadn't heard before. Early on, Mason Rudolph exploited the chaos with quick snaps, motion, and short throws that kept Chicago's young linebackers chasing shadows. The first quarter felt like survival mode, every completion a potential disaster waiting to snowball. But then came a stand at the goal line that changed everything. Pittsburgh tried to power through on a quarterback sneak, and the Bears, led by fill-ins DeMarco Jackson and Amen Ogbongbemiga, slammed the door shut. That moment didn't just stop points, it shifted belief. From there, Jaquan Brisker started creeping closer to the line, blitz packages became sharper, and the defense stopped reacting and started dictating. Even without their top corners, the secondary held firm, thanks in large part to one unexpected breakout star who's rewriting his own story week after week. What's remarkable isn't just that they survived, it's that they began to thrive. These aren't players waiting for starters to return. They're playing like they belong, like they've earned this chance. And in a league where depth wins championships, Chicago's ability to stay competitive with third and fourth stringers might be the most telling sign yet that something real is building. But one name stands out above the rest. A journeyman corner who was barely on anyone's radar in August, and is now one of the most important players on the entire roster. If you'd said back in training camp that Nashawn Wright would be one of the most critical players on the Chicago Bears defense by late November, even the most hopeful fans would have raised an eyebrow. He wasn't a high draft pick, he wasn't a splash free agent signing, he was a corner who'd bounced from the Dallas Cowboys to the Minnesota Vikings with little fanfare, labeled by many as a depth piece at best. Now he's tied with veteran safety Kevin Byard near the top of the league in interceptions, and playing like a man who's been waiting years for this moment. What separates Wright isn't just the stats, it's how he's making those plays. He's not waiting for bad throws. He's tracking deep shots stride for stride, turning midair to locate the ball, and winning contested catches like a wide receiver. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he nearly picked off Mason Rudolph on a bomb to Roman Wilson, his long frame disrupting the catch point and forcing an incompletion that saved a huge gain. And he's just as dangerous against the run, using his length to set the edge and wrap up ball carriers in space, something many corners avoid. This isn't a hot streak, it's a full transformation. His rise gives Dennis Allen something few defensive coordinators have right now: trust in a secondary that's been decimated by injuries. With Jaylon Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson sidelined, Wright has become the reliable side of the field that offenses actively avoid. That freedom lets Chicago disguise coverages, bring pressure from Jaquan Brisker or the linebackers, and play aggressive without fear of getting burned deep. But even the best secondary needs help up front, and that's where Chicago's defense gets its true game wrecker. Because when Nashawn Wright holds up in coverage, it gives one dominant edge rusher the time he needs to end drives before they even start. When Montez Sweat explodes off the line, the entire game tilts. It's not just about sacks, it's about the constant threat he creates on every snap, forcing quarterbacks to rush decisions, offensive lines to double team, and play callers to abandon rhythm. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that pressure turned critical when Sweat drove through the pocket, crushed Mason Rudolph, and knocked the ball loose. A strip that set up points and shifted momentum in a game that hung on every possession. That play wasn't an accident. It was the latest in a string of dominant performances that have redefined Chicago's defense. Sweat now has a sack in 5 of the last 6 games, and the impact goes far beyond the stat sheet. His presence forces guards and tackles to slide protection his way, opening lanes for young rushers like Austin Booker to clean up off the opposite edge. Inside, the defensive tackles hold their ground just long enough for Sweat to bend the edge or power through, keeping quarterbacks trapped with nowhere to climb. Even when he doesn't finish the play, his disruption leads to hurried throws, missed reads, and opportunities for a secondary that's already playing with newfound confidence. What makes this stretch so dangerous is timing. As the Bears head into a gauntlet of elite offenses, Philadelphia, Green Bay, San Francisco, having a true difference maker like Sweat becomes non-negotiable. He's no longer just a piece of the puzzle. He's the engine that allows Dennis Allen to call complex pressures without hesitation. And when Sweat wins early, the whole defense feeds off it. But here's the truth about this Chicago team. For all their strengths, they don't win cleanly. They win messily, dramatically, and often against their own mistakes, which might be exactly why they're so hard to beat when the game is on the line. Let's be real, watching the Chicago Bears play can give you whiplash. One minute they're executing a flawless drive with Caleb Williams hitting DJ Moore in stride for a touchdown. The next, they're burning a timeout because the play clock hits 0, or a holding call wipes out a crucial stop, or Nick McLeod grabs a receiver just enough to draw a flag instead of letting a touchdown happen, and somehow it still works out. This team doesn't just flirt with disaster, they seem to thrive in its shadow. And that's what makes them so unpredictable and so dangerous. What sets them apart isn't perfection, it's poise in chaos. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson refuses to play it safe late in games, trusting his rookie quarterback to make plays instead of just running out the clock. Defensive backs like Nashawn Wright and McLeod take calculated risks, knowing that giving up 7 is worse than giving up a first down. Even when mistakes happen, and they happen often, the response is never panic. It's belief. Belief that the next series can be the one that wins it. That mindset has fueled 8 wins already, most of them decided in the final minutes, against teams that expected to walk away with easy victories. Now, they face their toughest test yet, a closing stretch against the Eagles, Packers, Browns, 49ers, and Lions, all playoff-caliber squads that punish inconsistency. But if Chicago's journey has shown us anything, it's that this group doesn't need perfect conditions to win. They need time, trust, and one more snap. And if they keep answering pressure with poise, they won't just sneak into the playoffs, they'll arrive as the team nobody wants to face in January. Because in a league full of polished machines, the Chicago Bears are something rarer. A young, fearless, and battle-tested storm that's just getting started.